Hello, everyone.
Hello.
And welcome to the Real Football Fans of New Jersey. I am Katie. I realized I am Katie. I am Caitlin. This is Katie. I guess I was saying that because I'm so excited that you are back in the United States with us. We missed you last week. Everyone missed us 2 weeks ago. We took a break then. But Katie, let's just get started. You are back with us. Go ahead, let the audience know where you were, how your trip was. I know they're dying to hear about it.
My trip was good. I was in Amsterdam and then I went to Belgium where I was in Bruges and Brussels. So it was a very lovely Euro vacation. Happy to be back. There's things you miss about home. I will say this. My only knock on Europe, because it was absolutely amazing, and I'm like, ooh, I could move to Europe. Appreciate free water at restaurants.
Oh yes, I know that's not.
They will charge you for every water that you want.
Yeah.
And I drink a lot of water. I go to
do
restaurants.
too.
Like I don't drink soda. I don't order anything really besides water.
Mhm.
So I was like, oh my God, when I get home, the amount of water I'm gonna drink. I'm very happy to come home and have free water that I can fully appreciate.
That's funny. And I definitely knew that was a thing. And I every time, like, I do go out too I'm the first person that they're coming back 2 seconds later and filling up, or they're seeing how much I'm drinking and they're like, just put a picture on this stupid person's table. So I'm like, come in. I do order a lot of seltzers out at dinner too, though. So I think I'd be a little bit more okay with going to another country and being like, oh crap, they're charging me for this. So because basically I'm just paying for the bubbles in the United States. So that's one of our downfalls. So
get your free water, everybody. So
yes. But yeah, no, that's awesome. I was joking around we had the guys from New York Revival on last week, and I was saying that you were having your Euro trip. And I'd called out in case you were watching us live. It was a little late. It was like 2 a.m. your time. So I was like, maybe they're out at a bar. And I was like, I wouldn't be surprised. I was like, Katie watched us all the way in Thailand. I was like, so she could be tuning in right now. So I had to make that call out last week, but we obviously did miss you. So happy to have you back. Yes. Unfortunately, I'm out next week. But don't worry, we're going to have a summer of RFFNJ for you guys, so don't you worry. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get into episode 206. We've got a great episode for you guys in regards to all things football and housewives. So to kick things off, we asked you guys to ask us questions. We pulled out 3 that we thought were great. But if you are watching live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, please feel free to send us questions throughout the show if you're watching live. We'd love to answer them. All right. So the first question is, what team do you think should seriously look into Baker Mayfield? Interesting one for sure. I mean, I think it's a little shady that I think the Cleveland Browns are like kind of holding him hostage, so to say. So it's kind of tricky, but definitely a couple of teams out there. So who are you thinking about?
I think there are maybe like 4 teams that I think I'm a little bit nervous for their quarterback situation. And I think it needs to be addressed. But I am thinking like there's a team like Carolina, but now that the draft has gone on, they drafted Matt Corral. Like they could see what would happen with that.
Right.
Then you've got another team like Atlanta, but they had Marcus Mariota, and we were like, that's a question mark, but then they drafted Desmond Ridder. So I don't think they're in the mix. Houston is still in trouble, but for whatever reason, I don't see Baker in Houston. I think a team that should look into him, where I think could be a good fit, would be the Seattle Seahawks.
Okay.
You've got Drew Lock. I think we know that. Whereas like, you look at Drew Lock and then you look at guys like Desmond Ridder, you look at Matt Corral, and we kind of know what Drew Lock is. And I don't think we think of him as like a QB1 in the league. I don't think he ever will be. Whereas rookies, like, you never know. We have no idea.
Yeah.
So I'd rather like roll the dice on one of them. Whereas like I could see Baker Mayfield fitting in with Pete Carroll. I could see them having a good relationship together. And I think the Seahawks play in the second hardest division in the NFC West. And if they're going to play competitive football at all this season, knowing that they have to play 6 division games, they need to do something. It's not Drew Lock. I would be giving a look at Baker Mayfield.
All right. I like that answer. I'm going to agree with you on it for sure, but I'm going to throw in some like shakeups here.
Okay.
And it's all because I appreciate a quarterback competition. And if it's alive and well, you could be finding the potential new quarterback for your team. So a couple of the names that I'm going to throw in 3 names right here.
I feel like I know one of them, but let's see if I'm right.
So I'm going to throw in, and this is strictly on throwing someone in for a competition. So these teams could go into are fine probably going into 2022, but let's throw in Baker for a competition. Okay. So I'm going to go with Detroit, Minnesota, New Orleans on this one.
Ooh, my answer was not in there.
No, I mean, I think like blaring in mind, like Houston is like the number 1 team in trouble, like you had said, but I don't think they're like coming to terms with that for some reason. And I feel like advancing on Baker would be so easy. But I know there's definitely some discrepancies and some weirdness going on in Cleveland. So Houston might not be able to pull the trigger like many other teams might not be able to. So
I thought you were going to stay within the division, say bye-bye Cleveland. I'll go compete with Mitchell Trubisky in Pittsburgh.
So I was thinking about that too, but I'm so Pittsburgh is so obsessed with, I'm blanking on the quarterback they just got. They're so obsessed with him. The kid from Pitt.
They just get?
In the draft, the kid from Pitt. Why am I blanking on his name?
Oh, Kenny Pickett. I'm sorry. Yeah, I thought him too. Okay, so yeah, forget that.
They're so obsessed with him. Yeah, it's not even Mitch Trubisky's game anymore. I don't think it's Kyle. Yeah, they're so obsessed with that. It's not even. Yeah, they won't go after him.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with Detroit just because of Jared Goff. Obviously, I mean, I think unfortunately he went into a new team, couldn't really wrangle things together. It was also Detroit. Maybe give him a second chance, but obviously, who knows, can bring in for some competition. Minnesota, I don't know how long Kirk Cousins is going to stay with them, to be honest, to make them they're kind of a questionable team every year, which is unfortunate because the questionable things they do really well are like really, really good. And then when they're on the other spectrum and it's really, really bad, you're like, what the hell are you doing? So is Kirk Cousins the answer for the next 5 years? I don't know. And I don't think so. So maybe you bring in a guy like Baker now. And then New Orleans, I think Jameis Winston always needs a competition. I think we've seen that over the past couple of years. So let's see what else we can do in that area. So
I think out of the 3 you named, I think the one I like best for him, and I think the one that I think makes most sense is I could see that match in New Orleans.
Yeah. Like that. And I'm just having a little fun with these 3 teams, kind of throwing in a competition there.
I agree with New Orleans 100%.
But we'll see what happens for sure. All righty. So this is a fun one. And we actually talked about tailgating a lot last week with the guys from New York Revival. It was a good, I asked them for like their ultimate tailgating experience. And much like us, they provided like their end to ends. Like I arrive at MetLife Stadium. Here's what I'm doing, which I love that answer. So this one relates very much to that. So what is one piece of tailgating advice or a tailgating tip that you would give to someone?
So I don't know, Kate, if this is the one that you picked, but I know you're going to 100% agree with me because we're always like on the same page with this one. You don't want to necessarily be directly next to the porta potty, but you need to have it in your field of vision. We do, if it's a 1 p.m. game, we do get there at like 6 a.m, get let in at like 7. You're drinking mimosas, like you are, as gross as it is, you are going to need to use the bathroom. You're going to need that porta potty. And I always like having it like in my eyesight, like not too far away. So that's my tip. Always scope out your spot in vicinity to the bathroom.
I love that tip. And apologies to anyone who's behind me and Katie when we have our onesies on in the porta potty. We are spending, it's a 20-minute trip. We're not pooping, we promise. We're literally just taking off all of our layers, undoing a onesie. And peeing in that onesie is so difficult because nothing can touch the floor. So it's like, thank you to Orange Theory for getting my squat like perfect. Like, and you're holding up layers too. So you're like weightlifting at the same time. So it's not my piece of advice. So I actually one of it kind of has to do with what I just said. I have 2 pieces. So the biggest piece of advice, and here's why. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon when you get in there. So like really, really pace yourself, with eating and drinking. And listen, there's food at tailgates. So eat. It's funny. I think I'm when we day drink other times, I feel like I'm such a bad day drinker where I just get way too drunk, don't eat enough. At tailgates, I'm like, I eat way too much, but definitely been some instances where I've screwed up and drank way too much and it was like way too drunk at the game. So, and you always want to remember the game. That's the point. So, and then if you are a Giants fan or if you are a cold weather team, you never underestimate how many layers to bring. Always bring, especially if you're in a car and you're not getting dropped off at the tailgate. Like if you came with someone, bring something extra. If you feel you need that extra t-shirt, that extra layer, that extra sweatshirt, bring it. I could not tell you how many times I've screwed up and just assumed I'd be okay and was miserable.
I always bring hand and feet warmers too.
Oh, those two. Tape them to the bottom of your,
wonders.
Yeah. You got the ones that you can put inside your shoes, the hand ones, anything like that. Like totally good. But yes, Katie and I look like marshmallows sometimes when we are at these games, but it is because we are warm and we've been through it before. So my 2 pieces of advice is pace yourselves, make sure you're eating, you're drinking, you're having fun. But then also if it is a cold game, you are going to be there for hours on end. So dress warmly. It doesn't matter what you look like. Everyone looks like a marshmallow. So just bundle up.
Yes, absolutely.
Alrighty, and then last question is Travis Etienne, and sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly. I practiced before the show. The biggest wild cards for the Jags to have a solid season. I think this is an interesting question.
I think I break that down into 2 parts. Is he going to be a wild card for them? Yes. To have
maybe wild card for them to succeed.
I think a wild card for him to be like a contributing player.
Right.
But I don't know if he's going to be to have a great season. I think he could have a good season. I think he could be one of their main guys on offense, but I don't really look at Jacksonville as I don't see
having a great season
potential anywhere. Yeah. So I think he could have a good season, but when you look at the scope of the other 31 teams, where does he fall in with the other running backs? Right. I don't think he's a top running back, but I think he could be good for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So that's how I break it down.
I think he personally will have a good season. I do not think he will take this team to the next level this season.
Right.
So personally, his stats will be really good. And he obviously had a very horrific preseason injury for a rookie. So this is the first time we're really going to see him pop. Right. So I'd want to see everything, but right now, Jacksonville just has so much to fix. And I think they did some things in the draft. So I guess your non wild card, moving and grooving for the team, or the linemen they looked at, clearly Trevor Lawrence is coming into year 2. He shouldn't be a wild card, mover upper for you, if that's a word. He should be the guy to get you to the next level if you truly believe that. I think he'll have a good season. I just don't think whether it's a wild card pick to get the Jaguars to the next level or your solid pick to take the Jaguars to the next level. I just don't think anyone on that team can do it right now.
Right. Yeah.
Alrighty, so those were our questions. As always, again, if you are watching live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, go ahead and send any more questions, comments that you have our way. We love interacting with you guys live during the show. But yeah, we've got a lot more to talk about.
Yeah, so this is the first time that we're doing this one. It's kind of a play on our NFL Quick Hot topics, but tonight we are doing NFL Quick Hot opinions. So this past week, we actually read 3 different opinion pieces, all from NFL.com. And they're kind of lists, rankings. We're going to go over 3 of them and kind of give our thoughts, give our picks on some of them, agree, disagree. So this first one that we're looking at, last week, Adam Shine, my BFF, he wrote an article. He wrote an article for NFL.com and listed the NFL bandwagons we should hop on in 2022. Okay. So we're going to take a look at this list, and Caitlin and I are going to say whether we are hopping on or not hopping on for each one that he named. So let me pull up this list here. All right, and it's not just players; some are teams, some are coaches. So It's a whole mix. We've got 9 here. Kate will just do this kind of rapid fire and say whether we are hopping on this bandwagon or not.
Okay.
So number 1 is the New Orleans Saints, just as a team in general.
No, I'm not hopping on this.
I'm not hopping on either.
No. What's to hop on? Nothing.
Number 2, we've got Jacksonville quarterback Trevor Lawrence.
Nope. And I will, this could, I said this could be a freezing cold take in the future, but I already said my take on him a couple months back. So I'm not hopping on this train.
I'm not either. We've kind of both agreed on this show before that we could just kind of not see him taking it past what we saw in the rookie year. Yep. So, all right. Number 3, new Las Vegas head coach Josh McDaniels. Are you hopping on that train?
It's not that I'm hopping on it or not hopping on it. I'm still sticking to my gut that like I need to see him on the field for week 1.
Right.
I cannot trust him after
There's time for him to back out.
No, and I don't trust him. So like I'm telling you guys, so I'm not making my decision of hopping on or not hopping on until week 1 at the NFL season. So there's my answer for that.
I'm not hopping on this one. He's inheriting a decent team.
Right.
Above average team in the Las Vegas Raiders. He's also going into the hardest division. It's not going to be easy for him. And we'll see how he does on his own, without Bill Belichick. And I'm just saying no. Mm-hmm. Number 4, Los Angeles Rams running back Cam Akers.
I'll hop on it. I like him. Talented kid. Let's see what he can do for LA coming up. So
yeah. I'm jumping on this one as well. Obviously, he had a bad injury after the past season, came back for the postseason. I'm expecting him to, like he was before that injury, people were expecting big things.
You got to give him all the credit in the world, too, coming off the Achilles injury, going into the postseason. Right. And, that's tremendous. So,
number 5, the Philadelphia Eagles.
No.
I'm going a yes/no on this one.
Don't hop on it.
The reason I'm saying yes is because I can see this team being a playoff team again, like they were last season. But I'm saying no because I think they would be one of the weaker, like a 7th seed playoff team, and not actually be a threat once in the postseason.
Yeah, I know we're gonna talk about it a little later. I don't know.
Number 6, Denver running back Javonte Williams.
Sure. You know what? I think with a lot of things in regards to Denver, I won't hop on the front car of the train, but I'll be on the train moving in a positive direction just with acquiring Russell Wilson. I don't think they're going to be this like incredible like playoff winning Super Bowl team this year, but I think they're going to start moving. So offensively, I'll hop on what they're doing. So.
Yeah. So, spoiler alert, I would say that this was probably my favorite one on his list. This is the one I feel most confident in jumping on. I could see him kind of having a breakout sophomore season. Obviously, he had a good rookie season. I could see him really cracking into like being a top 10 running back in the league this year. Number 7, another guy who, was injured during his rookie season. Really unfortunate. But we've got Carolina quarterback J.C. Horn.
I'm going to hop on it because I think a lot of things are going to fall to the Panthers defense this year. And you have a kid, suffering an injury, coming back to prove himself in year 2. Let's see what he can do. So yeah, I'm going to hop on this one.
I'm hopping on this one as well. I think he was drafted like 8th overall. And then obviously had that injury at the very beginning of his rookie season. But, you don't draft the guy 8 overall because you're not expecting big things.
Yeah.
I think he comes back from this injury, and I think he's going to be a key focal point for that defense. Number 8, Houston offensive coordinator Pep Hamilton.
Nah, I'm not hopping on anything Houston, to be honest.
So I said no, and it really doesn't matter whether it's Pep Hamilton or Bill Belichick. I'm saying
no.
Okay, number 9. This is the last one. Baltimore wide receiver Rashad Bateman.
Yeah, I'm gonna hop on it. Baltimore was faced with, a lot of teams get the injury bug, but I actually saw like someone put like a timeline of their injuries last season, like out recently. It was like a picture like of it, a visual, and it's mind blowing how many people they they had lost. And that was actually,
it's like the New York Giants every single season.
I know. It actually, but with a quarterback like Lamar, and he actually wasn't able to take them to the next level like that. It was a topic of conversation actually last week on the show. Yeah, I mean, it was just crazy to see that. So if they get this, dynamic offense moving again, uninjured, things like that, absolutely, I'm going to be on board with a guy, like Rashad Bateman. So
yeah, I'm going yes. And one of the main reasons I'm going yes is because you traded Marquise Brown. And
right.
So Bateman kind of right now, as it stands, is kind of wide receiver number 1. So
right.
he's going to have to have a big year. So
right.
I will jump on that bandwagon as well.
Right.
Okay, so that was the first one. And then the second one we have here, let me pull it back up. So on Friday, Bucky Brooks, he's a popular writer for NFL.com. He discussed his top 5 candidates to be on the cover of Madden NFL 2023. So we have his list. Caitlin and I are going to pick our favorite, our vote from his list to be on the cover. And then we're both going to give someone that was not on his list that we think should be a candidate as well. So in order, he has number 1, Los Angeles Rams wide receiver Cooper Kupp. Number 2, Pittsburgh linebacker TJ Watt. Number 3, Buffalo quarterback Josh Allen. 4, Dallas cornerback Trayvon Diggs. And 5, Tampa Bay quarterback Tom Brady. Caitlin, who do you like best from this list to be on the Madden cover?
So yeah, so it's interesting because like you look at this list of guys and you're like, wow, like so talented. But like the one thing that stands out to me the most is like the Madden curse. And I'm like, like I would never want anything to actually
on Diggs.
I know, but it's like Trayvon Diggs is like I used to love watching him. Now I don't like watching him for Dallas. So it just like kind of kills me there. So obviously, I mean, I just want to say, like, obviously, like this like came out on Friday. John Madden is actually the cover for 2023, so it was clearly the right decision. But I do like the conversation of having other people in it as well. It's not going to be the decision, but listen, a lot of these guys are going to be around for next year. So we've got to look to 2024 too. But prior to the decision being made, I really like Cooper Kupp on this list. It's a wide receiver. He's done, the most incredible things I've seen since probably Megatron. Like I loved him as a player. I wish we got to see him more and more. But Cooper Kupp is just doing like, the impossible almost. So it's really fun to watch him play. And I think we talk about him a lot. And I don't think it's not that other people don't. But I would love to see like his name in lights, so to say.
So I was between Cooper Kupp and TJ Watt. And I think they're both very deserving. Obviously, Cooper Kupp was the Triple Crown winner, top in receiving yards, top in receptions, like top in touchdowns. Like that's so impossible to see. That doesn't happen very often. And then, of course, TJ Watt ties the sack record that Michael Strahan has held for, a very, very long time. So that was huge too. I think they're both deserving. I went with TJ Watt because Cooper Kupp, as amazing as this past season was, he's always been a good wide receiver, but he was never at that level that he did last year, where I feel it's like TJ Watt's been a little more consistent and like season after season. I think Cooper Kupp will now be season after season at the top, but I'm going to give it to TJ Watt. It's always fun to give love to a defensive player as well. Yeah. But this is who do you got as your candidate not on this list?
Well, giving love to a defensive player, I'm going to go with Aaron Donald on this one. Okay. And not only it's like a 2-tier approach, not just giving love to a defensive player, because I agree with you on that one. We're always giving love to the defense, the offensive linemen. We're always going after those guys and giving them love. Aaron Donald has had a very successful career. And, if his time at the Rams comes to an end, like, that might be it for him. So as we might be inching closer to the end of Aaron Donald, which might scare some people, but if you kind of look at it in more detail, that might be the time. So let's get him on while he's still here.
You're right. And that's honestly, that was Bucky. If you read the article, that was Bucky Brooks's reason for putting Tom Brady on this list, just in case his last season. So you're definitely in the same thought process. And I like that. As much as you like don't want to pick a quarterback because they get all the recognition and everything like that, I think about Madden and I think about like swagger, like a player that has swagger, like who's fun, who like people buy their jerseys and like they just got like a name and a swagger to them and they're very popular. I went with Cincinnati quarterback Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I've seen some mock-ups on him on the cover. Like it's cool.
He's Joe Cool. He's Joe Cool. And I think he would be a good cover for Madden. I like him. All right. So our last article on Friday, it was written by Jim Trotter on NFL.com. He listed 3 teams most likely to make the playoffs this year after missing it last year. So he included in this particular order, number 1, he gave love to the New Orleans Saints. Number 2, he went with the Los Angeles Chargers. And number 3, he went with the Indianapolis Colts. So we are going to give our top 3 in order. Caitlin, who do you have?
Okay, so I 100% agree with the Chargers and Indiana. So I'm actually going to swap the order though. So I'm giving the Chargers the first spot, Indiana the second spot, and then my third. It's a toss up, and I don't think I'm being an idiot right now. I don't think either of them made the playoffs last year. But I could be an idiot. I'm actually going to go with, and it's a little contradictory of what I'll talk about later, but I'm going to go with either Pittsburgh or Cleveland on this one. Neither of them made playoffs, right? Yes, I'm right, right? Okay. I wanted to, that division always throws me for a spiral. So, and it was, yes, now, yeah, obviously I'm remembering with Big Ben and everything. So I'm actually at same division, obviously, but maybe in that third spot. But I'm still very high on the Chargers and the Colts doing bigger things this year, as I thought they would have done last year.
So you're gonna laugh because my list is the same 1 and 2. I have the Chargers at 1, I have Indy at 2, and then I went with your division you were talking about, but I went with the Baltimore Ravens. So that's definitely one of the most interesting divisions where you could make arguments for why all 4 teams would make the playoffs, by why all 4 teams would slightly miss the playoffs. I don't think anybody in that division is so bad that you're like, oh, they have no shot in hell. I think it's either make it or just miss it for those 4 teams.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that later. So, but those were our 3 articles. Definitely fun opinion pieces to go over and give our own opinions as well.
Absolutely. And there's going to be many more opinions that come out, as we inch closer to the 2022 season. So don't you guys worry. All right, let's go into and get into the big stories of the week for Housewives. So this one is interesting for me as a former Beverly Hills fan. I'm on a big hiatus because I will put former in my title for them. But apparently though, it's like everyone's obsessed with it lately. And I'm like, you know what? No, I'm not tapping in again. I'm mad. So literally, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills only has 1 OG left. And apparently her future is up in the air. We are talking about Housewives Kyle Richards. So she recently revealed to E! News that season 12 of the show could easily be her last and will possibly not return for season 13. So here is a quote from Kyle. I always say, I don't know. And each season I think, well, maybe I can do one more. And sometimes I'm just like, how can I keep doing this? Especially when I get really upset, like this last season when we ended. So obviously a bunch of drama. So when filming wrapped up for season 12, Kyle was, really adamant at the time that her days of being a housewife were coming to an end. There was absolutely no way she was going to return, but she has since admitted that they're always just, she needs to digest after every season, which a lot of them probably do. In the moment, they're probably like, I'm never doing this again.
Yeah. Reunion, you're like, yeah, I'm done.
Oh, I'm out. Like even some people have stormed out of reunions and still come back. So it's definitely probably these women are always, looking at it, digesting it. But now she has admitted, she's taking it day by day as far as the decision goes. So since filming of season 12 has ended, Kyle recently admitted her and co-star sister Kathy Hilton had a falling out, which could be a factor into why she's on the fence. But it would be a big loss for Beverly Hills. she's been on the show like since it started, since 2010. So we've lost a ton of OGs. Obviously, we lost Lisa Vanderpump, and I'm not happy about that. A lot of her issues stem from Kyle. Their relationship ended on the show, so there's been a lot of stress from that. I don't know. I mean, I feel bad for Kyle. I've always liked Kyle. I really didn't like how she treated the ending of her friendship with Lisa Vanderpump. She sided with people like Dorit, who I don't like, and Lisa Rinna, who I'm really not a fan of. So, and that was a big decision for me I left the show as well. For me to leave the show. Kyle, though, from just like a personal standpoint, like, she's still like pursuing acting. Like, I don't know if a lot of people know, but like she's in the original Halloween movie. Like she's the young girl in it. And then now she actually came out. She's in the most recent one, and she's going to be in the next one next fall, which I'm so excited about. So she's like doing other things. So like, I think that's top of mind. And most recently, I feel really bad. Her like all-time best friend, like who isn't famous, actually recently passed away. All she had mentioned was just due to mental health issues. So I'm not particularly sure what that means. Nothing was disclosed. But I'm sure that's taking a toll on her as well. So I just know that, and she's got a big family. She's got young girls and everything like that. So like, who knows just where she is right now. So I'm not particularly surprised that she is taking it day by day. And essentially we might see where it happens. So
there's no harm in taking a season or two off, coming back. We've seen other women do it.
Friends. Like she is friends with these women. So,
I mean, obviously you had somebody who was an OG like Bethany. She was like one of the biggest names. It just not even just on her franchise, but in housewives in general. And obviously, like she took a big break at one point, a couple seasons off, and came back. So it's always something that I think would be an option for her. I think Andy would always leave that door open for her if she did leave to come back. So that's an option I think she could think of on the table as well.
Absolutely.
All right, our second story of the week, we have Mr. I'm always in hot trouble. My is always coming out to light, and it's not pretty. We are, of course, talking about Real Housewives of New Jersey's Teresa's fiance, Louis. Last week, Page 6 was the first to report that new claims had come out about Louis in regards to his marriage with his ex-wife, Marissa DiMartino. Page 6 actually exclusively obtained a police report from 2012 that claimed Louis pushed his ex-wife into a metal pole in their garage during an argument at their home. And that fight apparently took place in front of their son. And then, as I think probably a lot of married women do, Marissa declined to press charges, and so no arrest was actually made. In 2010, a separate report was filed over a verbal dispute at their home, but again, she did not press charges. And lastly, a third report was filed in 2016 when they were either going through their divorce or were already like newly divorced, claiming that Louis had shouted names at her in a custody exchange while they, and then I do have a quote more about that. She said, my ex-husband came to pick up my son at approximately 6 o'clock. He wanted to exchange words, and I did not want to come to the door. He continued ringing and banging on the door till I opened, scaring my other son upstairs. At drop-off, he shouted names in front of both our children as he sped off with our second son, who claimed he wanted to live with him. So, no spoilers here, because I will admit I'm very far behind. I've only seen part 1 of the New Jersey reunion. I was getting ready for my trip, then I was away. I've got to catch up. So I have to watch 2 and 3. And I remember seeing in the preview of the reunion where Louis comes on and Andy rattles off a list of allegations. And he's like, this is a lot. Like, something's got to be true. Like, what's true? So I haven't seen that scene yet. I'm very curious to see the response, because yes, I do believe like at some point, like something's got to be true here. And these are actual police reports. So, that doesn't look too great, but I'm very curious on the reunion to see what he says, because I know nobody wants to on national television just be like, yeah, oh, that crazy story about me. Yeah, that's true. You kind of just want to like brush it under the rug. but it's alarming. And obviously we haven't heard any stories about him with Teresa, and they always talk about how they never fight. They've never had an argument. And it's like, okay, but you guys are moving at like a lightning fast speed. You're in the honeymoon stage, like you're head over heels. Like, I just hope their future together will not include any kind of stories like that.
I don't want people to ever think that you going out and saying your relationship that you never fight is like a positive thing. Like, you could be locked in a room with like any other human being for the rest of your life, and there's going to be things that you disagree on. Like, I even think about like, we love dogs. We're animal people. Like, how many times has your dog pissed you off by doing something that they weren't supposed to do? Like, you are not, even if you cloned yourself, you'd probably beat yourself up. Like, you are not supposed to be like happy-go-lucky everything all the time. Like, this is real life. Like, people go through things. Like, you shouldn't be fighting like we just read off to you, but like, arguments are normal. Like, in a relationship, disagreements are so normal. So I always find that like a huge red flag when people are like, oh my God, we never fight. Like, no, like, yes, you either do and you're just lying, or you don't. And then something like this is going to happen, and that's not okay. Like, it's not something to brag about. Like, it's really not.
Yeah.
So
I guess I got to catch up on the reunion. I really do, because I feel like I almost want to like ask you like what the response is, but I also want to like, be surprised. But yeah, we gotta just like get one of Louis' exes like on one of these shows. Just surprise, we brought Louis' ex-wife to the reunion, but it would be so messed up.
I'm sure they would. Yeah, they would probably do it.
We gotta hear like the truth on some of these things.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, listen, like, I'm not coming to his defense, but for all we know, like, he could have told, and maybe why Teresa was getting so frustrated this season and he was cool, calm, and collective. For all we know, some of this stuff might be true, maybe to a certain extent. I mean, I don't necessarily know if he's like this aggressive, but he could be. When you get into a relationship with someone, eventually you talk about the exes. You talk about why you're not in a relationship anymore, what happened, things like that. They're not the easiest conversations, but they happen. And if you're like me, I'm a little curious. I'm always nosy, like, what? Tell me all of everything. So if you're in a relationship that you think is great, and like, first, I'm not like a relationship counselor, but here's my 2 cents on the thing. Like, you talk about these things and you get things out in the open. Like, relationships don't always work out, and that's normal. So if you enter a relationship and you talk about why things didn't work, maybe that's why Teresa was getting so frustrated. Maybe she knew all of this and she's accepting it and she's moving on with him, only to have her friends dig it up and replay it. And now it's in the open. So
it is what she kept saying on the season is, I don't care about his past. What I care about is our future together. And that's fair.
Right.
I did not find that I agreed with Teresa Giudice much on this season of New Jersey.
Neither did I.
Is fair. If she knows the facts and she's had conversations with Louis and he's been open and honest with her, and she's willing to move forward with that man despite what as ugly as his past could have maybe been, that's her decision as a grown adult.
And she is a literal grown adult with children. So I don't think she'd put her children in harm's way, to be honest. And his children also live with them now. So if they're the children that are being brought up in this police report, like, maybe Teresa spoke to them and got their side. So I'm saying there's definitely a lot we don't know. Since they are on the Real Housewives of New Jersey, we're getting the headlines from Page 6. So we're getting the drama llama. That's what the media wants us to see. So
you're on national TV now, bud. Like, this is what comes up with it. Like, everybody's going to dig up your skeletons. So
yeah. And listen, he seemed pretty zen on this season for a lot of skeletons coming out about him, but you'll see on the reunion and stuff. It's actually, you'll see. It's okay. I think you'll have your opinions on it. So,
all right. Sounds good.
All righty. Well, moving back into football, we are playing a game. We played this last year. We are playing Real Deal or No Deal. So we did this last year. We took a look at all 32 NFL teams, and we're going to predict which category we think they fall into going into the 2022 season. So I'm going to quickly read the categories, or like superlatives for these teams as we go into this season. So they are a legit shot at winning the Super Bowl, playoffs, but definitely not a Super Bowl, just misses the playoffs, mediocre AF, or no shot in hell. So those are our categories. So again, just a little disclaimer as we do Super Bowl and playoffs, like we're not counting who's going from each. We're just kind of giving our thoughts on it.
I actually did to help myself with the game. I was like, okay, if 7 teams are making it from the NFC, 7 from the AFC, I kind of picked my 7 for both sides to help me break this game down.
All right. Well, I didn't do that.
I did.
So don't look at mine and be like, Caitlin, that's impossible.
That's too many playoff teams. No, I won't do that. It just helped me to sort it out.
Like, I don't care, people. I did what I want. So there's actually like not enough. Actually, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. So whatever. You guys can count on the back ends. So let's go ahead, and the way in which I think we should do it. So we'll read each category, and then you can go ahead and list your teams. Then I will list mine. Mine are in no particular order, by the way. I just listed.
Same here.
All right. So let's start with legit shot at winning the Super Bowl. It also literally just lightninged so hard and thundered hard, really.
Not by me yet. Not by me.
It's coming, Katie.
Oh boy, it's coming. All right. So I don't know about you, but I have 5 teams in this category.
Let me count mine.
Yeah, I'm interested how many you have.
I have 5 too.
Okay. Now I'm very interested if they're the same 5.
I think they might be.
My 5 teams that have a legit shot at winning the Super Bowl in no particular order: the Buffalo Bills, Kansas City Chiefs, Green Bay Packers, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and reigning Super Bowl champions, the Los Angeles Rams.
Katie, we are 5 for 5 on our first pick. So
woo! Starting strong.
I don't know if anyone's gambling on us or how many times we agree with each other, but it's not very often. No. We do disagree. I think that's what makes our show good. Yes. That means we don't have, vanilla opinions or basic opinions. But for this one, we did agree with each other. Yes, we are 100% 5 for 5 on that one.
Yeah. I feel like that's one of the easier categories that you tackle.
Yeah. And I think you need to think of it from like a betting mindset, and we're not, the two of us are not sports gamblers, but if you were sincerely going to put money on a team, you need to be confident. And right now, that confidence lies. I could even narrow this down if you wanted me to.
Yeah.
To make it to if you want, you can go 3, I could give you 3 if I wanted to.
Same.
Alrighty. Right. So the next one is playoffs, but definitely not a Super Bowl. And again, this is no offense to these teams that we're picking. They're talented teams, but
yeah, of course. But we said last year, now especially because they've added another wild card team.
Right.
I do find that there are some weaker. They're still making the postseason, but there's some weaker playoff teams. So, like I said, to help me break down this game, I did do 7-7, 7 playoffs teams on both sides. So this is rounding out, obviously, with my teams that I have potentially winning a Super Bowl. In no particular order, I have the Cincinnati Bengals, Tennessee Titans, Indianapolis Colts, Los Angeles Chargers, Baltimore Ravens, Arizona Cardinals, San Francisco 49ers, the Dallas Cowboys, and the Philadelphia Eagles. Oof. So those are my playoff teams when you mix it together with my Super Bowl teams.
Wow. I think I just have that hatred for Philly that I don't even look at them. I must say though, that I sincerely think that Philly might turn into, I have Dallas on this list. So I'll give you guys a spoiler. Yeah. We actually are very on par there. Okay. I just didn't have some extra teams.
I think Philly could contend in the division with Dallas.
So here, I think so too, but I think I'm leaning more towards them. We often talk about Dallas being this team that on paper, they're so good, but they make questionable decisions. They choke in the playoffs. They do all of this stuff. I actually can see Philly going in that route because I think on paper and even after this draft, they made some good moves for their team. And if Jalen Hurts happens to pan out, you have Devontae Smith, you've got some, really good things. I think they might pan out to be what we talk about Dallas right now. Like on paper, good. But when they're on the field, kind of doing questionable things, going to the postseason, choking. So that's just my mindset. Again, it could be the hatred, but I'm trying to be, I just gave a lot of compliments there. So you guys should all be very happy about that. I'm not, but I think you'll see. I don't give them much credit here, but we had, so I have teams that you had said, you just had a couple of extra teams than me. So I'm going with Baltimore, Cincinnati, Dallas, the Colts, the Chargers, the 49ers, and Tennessee.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, I mean, you named all my teams. I just had, like we said,
like
I had a couple extras.
Yeah, like two. I think you had Arizona and Philly. Those are your two other ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All righty. So just misses the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm looking at the New England Patriots, the Miami Dolphins, the Cleveland Browns, the Las Vegas Raiders, the Denver Broncos, the Minnesota Vikings, the New Orleans Saints, and the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, we're pretty much on par here. I had a couple of people fall down to mediocre. So, but I don't think, even like with the mediocre, like there's a full like slew of names I have for them. So maybe they can break out for me and I can see a little bit more. So excuse me, I had to burp. For just misses the playoffs, I went with Arizona, the Vikings, the Saints, the Raiders, the Patriots, Pittsburgh, and Cleveland.
Yeah, we had a lot of the same teams.
Yeah. So my biggest list is actually mediocre AF. And it kind of like upsets me that, this list is on there, but I actually think a lot of these teams had decent drafts. So I'm interested to see where they end up in the 2022 season, but just going off the last maybe couple years and things like that, like that's kind of why I put them here. But I'm open to all of these teams, proving me wrong. Show me that you're not mediocre. So this is definitely my longest list here. So would love to see what you have.
I only have 5 teams, and what I want to say about
I'm a little meaner.
What I want to say about the mediocre AF and then our lowest one, the no shot in hell, is I almost needed like a category in between.
I 100% agree.
And these two were really hard for me to break which teams went in which spot. And I have 2 teams that I think maybe might surprise people. But again, like I'm going with the mentality of like, we've had free agency, we've had the draft, and some of these teams really knocked it out of the park in the draft. And that helped take them from no shot in hell to mediocre AF on my list.
100% agree.
So on that mediocre list, I have the Washington Commanders, the Seattle Seahawks, a team that I would normally put no shot in hell, but I loved their draft. I'm putting the New York Jets in this. I'm also going to, off a successful draft and fingers crossed that we're not no shot in hell, I'm putting the New York Giants. And surprisingly enough, I feel like they surged a little bit, not a huge surge, but surged a little bit at the end of last season. I'm actually going to put the Detroit Lions on this list.
Yeah.
So those are my 5.
So we agreed definitely on a lot of the same teams to where I think we got a little bit of a boost from the draft. So 100% agree. And then we just had some discrepancies between just missing the playoffs and mediocre. And I think we have one discrepancy with no shot in hell. So for mediocre, I'm going with Atlanta, Carolina, Chicago, Denver, Detroit, the New York Giants, Miami, Philly, Seattle, and the New York Jets. So 100% agree with you from the Jets and the Detroit standpoint. The Giants, I hope, the fact that we're hoping for mediocre is sad. But listen,
I honestly teetered and tottered between those 2 categories for the Giants, back and forth. And they were like my hardest to say. I was like, I don't want to put us no shot in hell.
No.
You had a good draft. Like, come on.
We did. So that leads us to no shot in hell, which was my smallest category.
Yeah. So I know we said no particular order. This is my number one no shot in hell team. It's the Houston Texans. I also have the Jacksonville Jaguars. I have the Chicago Bears. I just don't think there's enough weapons there. And I kind of could see like Justin Fields not being the answer at quarterback.
Okay.
I've got the Carolina Panthers because that's a team with a huge quarterback question mark. And then I've got the Atlanta Falcons, another team with a huge quarterback question mark. So those are my 5 for no shot in hell.
So I went with 3, and I went with Washington, Jacksonville, and Houston. So I think Washington for me, it's really like a no bias, like sorry, from like the NFC East, like that quarterback situation. It's such a huge question mark for me. And I don't think they had a good draft. And it's a poor division. I think we have a poor division. And if we all stand out this year, cool, hurrah. We're going to have more fights coming in the coming years of us being good. But I can't see it for them.
Yeah. All right. We're pretty on par with each other though.
Well, that was good. Yeah. And I'm copying and pasting it into my notes now so I can save it. So we can kind of see as the season goes on, like where we're at. So I'm going to paste it, pull up there. I love that. We can also publish it to our pages tomorrow. I love pulling up the receipts. So it was good though. It's always fun to look at that, especially right after the draft too. Like, cause we named so many teams that could have like been either up or down. Like there were some teams I pulled down because I didn't think they had good drafts and I'm not sure where they're going into this season. So as much as we pushed some teams up, a lot came down as well. So I think that's very, very interesting and fun game for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's the point in the night where we get it off our chest. Positive, negative, football, housewives, life, wine, summer. It is here. We love summer. Whatever you feel like, whatever is on your mind, get it off your chest. Kate, why don't you go first?
Well, speaking of summer, we are having a traditional summer thunderstorm here. It's full throttle now. We've got the lightning, the thunder. I don't hear
it's coming, I guess.
The humidity. I don't even have my air conditioning on, but I felt in the last 30 minutes, like my hair get a little bit bigger and it's like seeping through the windows. I feel the humidity is coming in. So traditional summer for sure. So speaking of summer, and it could be summer, it could be events any time of the year. I was scrolling through Instagram today and I saw, Dolores Catania. Is that even Dolores' still her last name? Catania? I was like, I got confused for a second. I was like, wait a minute, does she still have Frank's last name? Which cracks me up. So Dolores is doing her second annual charity softball game with the women. So we actually saw the charity softball game on the season this year. It basically was the men and the women against nurses and doctors for where she actually had a breast cancer scare about a year or two ago. So it's her like breast cancer center. It's based out of New York, like somewhere like, I don't even know where in New York it is. It's nowhere, like not the city, like somewhere outside. I want to say like Long Island, Staten Island, something like that. Far, far away from us. So they did that on the episode last year. Like it was great. Like we had watched it. It was a fun episode. And those are the events like Katie and I go to like all of these, as you guys know, like these NFL events, these Giants events, like we go to housewives things. Like we really, really try to. And a lot of them like are super intimate. And we're so happy for that we really get to experience, kind of these housewives, these football players hands-on and the fans too. So we're not just going, housewives is a little different. Like for the NFL, we can go to a Giants game whenever we want to. We can go to an NFL, the housewives isn't a sport. It might be a sport for us, but like they have these events that we really like to go to. So the game, it's on like June 29th at like 6 p.m. Like in like random, like somewhere in New York. I think, Katie, it's like 2 hours away from us. Like it's really, really far away. So I'm not getting it off my chest. And like, I know like these are charity events. I'm not trying to be like mean about it, but like even events that are just for entertainment where they're making money, like say like a Luann, like something like that. Like, well, that was like one we almost went to. Like they're doing so many weeknight things, in my opinion. Like even the Giants Fan Fest last year was on a weeknight. Like Katie, I had to pick Katie up from work, and like then we went. Like
season games used to always be Friday and Saturday. Now you'll see Thursday.
Yeah. Like for me, I just think like we are entering summer months. Like Katie and I know a ton of teachers, but like not everyone in the world is a teacher and has like the summer off, nor do we have all like unlimited vacation days and can like do these things. Like I can't find out about an event tomorrow and take off work and go run to it. I just think like, people need to like cater to their fans a little bit more. So it's like timing and it's also location. So again, like this like spot for this softball game is like really far away from us. And it's like, it's the Real Housewives of New Jersey. Like you'd think it'd be at like, a baseball field in like Cedar Grove or like something like that, like, or Jackal Stadium. Like it could be like,
That would be great.
I know, like we'd pop over there in a heartbeat. But yeah, or even on a weekend, we could make the trip. So I don't know. Again, like I know these things are either for fun or for charity, but we love coming to these things. And I wish it was easier for us to attend more things because this is what helps us get our brand out there. This is what helps us interact with the communities that we're taught. There's a reason why we do this week after week. It's because of all of you guys. It's because we love housewives and football. So I just, I wish that it was a little easier to attend things outside of going to like an actual Giants game, so to say.
Absolutely. I agree. I thought I was telling Caitlin before the show, like, this is a rough season for New Jersey. We're used to having so much fun watching them. And it was like this season was more cutthroat. And I thought one of the more lighthearted, fun episodes was when they had this charity softball game. And it looked so much fun. I would have loved to have been there. But yeah, that's tough for us. It's a weeknight. And unfortunately, I don't think we're making it. So
yeah. No.
Definitely a bummer for sure. But my get it off my chest is outrage. I am specifically annoyed with the ticket sales department for the New York Jets. This is not borderline harassment. This is harassment. I have gotten phone calls from the New York Jets every single day for the past like 2-3 weeks. Mm-hmm. And not only calls, I get the follow-up emails. Yeah. Oh, you didn't answer our call. We missed you. We'll try you again. Voicemails. Hey, I guess we must have just missed you. Leave me alone. Number one, I'm a New York Giants fan. Number two, I had to think about it today. And I'm like, why do they keep calling me? I gifted my friend tickets to one Jets game last season. I bought tickets one time to a New York Jets game. And now I'm getting absolutely harassed. Could you imagine how many people have bought tickets to just one Jets game that they're getting these calls? It's like, I don't think these people are your season ticket holders that get into one game. Like, leave me alone. I had the same thing. I went to a couple of New Jersey Devils games this year. Same exact thing. Harassment for a straight month. I will even allow you to call me, not once, not twice. I'll give you 3 calls.
3 times.
I will allow you to spam me 3 times. And then if I don't answer, leave me the hell alone. Yeah. It's 2022. I know where I can get tickets if I want them. Right. And number 2, it's 2022. I know how to work technology. I've seen your missed call. I've seen your email. I've heard your voicemail. I know where to contact you if I want some tickets. Now leave me the hell alone, New York Jets.
No, I think you're absolutely correct. And they must have like the Devils and the Jets must have like a conspiracy theory going on like with them or like something joined together. So I had the same issues with the Devils. So I had bought tickets a year ago to go to a Devils game because they were playing one time. They were playing the Flyers. And so I went for the Flyers. So here's the thing. I went to go see the Flyers play, and it was a Devils game, obviously, because I don't live in Philly, but I went to go watch the Flyers. They still do call occasionally. And I was telling Katie before the show that they actually switched sales reps on me. So then I started getting more phone calls from someone else being like, oh, I'm your new rep. And I was like, well, your old rep should have told you this bitch never answers the phone.
I'm not interested.
But you're absolutely correct. Like in both like this time, and like I've never bought Jets tickets, but I've bought Giants tickets before. I've done everything through like a third party. So like, how are you finding me? Like how I'm using it like StubHub or Ticketmaster. So like, how are you finding me? Like I just like bought Phillies tickets recently, and like it was like a fiasco. But like no one from there is calling me.
Well, I
or,
was
like,
I was
harassing
thinking
me.
about it earlier today. I'm like, when I was knowing that I was going to do this for my get off my chest, I'm like, I buy usually more than one ticket like every season for the Giants for the past however many years. But then I was like, wait a minute. They don't even have season tickets to sell for the Giants. Like they're all bought out. Like you have to be on a waiting list for like 10, 15 years before you get those. So right now you can get season tickets for the New York Jets and the New Jersey Devils, but this girl doesn't want them. Leave me alone.
I know. And it's so funny too. Like you bring up such a good point. Like if I wanted them, I'd call you, or I'd literally just go on the internet like I did the first time. Like they have all that information too.
You can buy season tickets on Ticketmaster.
I know.
So I don't know if they are like, no, but go through us because we'll give you this special offer. I don't
probably
care. You've called me so many times and emailed and voicemailed that like if I want to talk to you, I know who to contact. You filled up my voicemail box. Like leave me alone.
I know.
Harassment, not borderline. It is harassment.
It is. So
that's my angry get it off.
Listen, I feel you on that one. I'm totally on board with it. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us for another episode of the Real Football Fans of New Jersey. We are off again next week because now I am going away. But it is the summer of vacations for us. But don't worry, we will be back in 2 weeks for you guys. And listen, we've got Katie and I have got a lot of summer plans coming. So we're going to give you guys picks. We're going to give you guys updates of what we're doing. We'd love to hear what you guys have planned this summer. So looking forward to the rest of the summer for sure. But things that you do not want to miss as we move into the next couple of weeks. So listen, we've got a series premiere tonight if you're watching live. The Real Housewives of Dubai is on at 9 p.m. It is following The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, which is currently airing right now at 8. So I'm sure Bravo is going to switch that probably halfway through, whether it's either halfway through Beverly Hills or Dubai season. But I know they're not going to have.
I think they like to like group it though, because it's like if you are a Beverly Hills fan and then you just leave the channel on when it's done, it kind of sucks people into watching Dubai.
But I think they're pretty known for like switching it halfway through and being like, all right, now it's on like Monday nights or something like that.
Once the little bird leaves the nest and it's good and the ratings are good, then we can like switch it up.
Right. So Dubai, it's on tonight at 9:00. Katie and I are so excited. So by the time we get back in 2 weeks, we will have a recap for you of we'll do the first episode because I will be probably just one behind at that point, but we'll see if I'm able to catch up on episode 2, but we'll be able to talk about it the next time we talk with you guys. And then Atlanta is on Sunday at 8 p.m. In regards to football, NFL, just keep updated on our social media pages. We keep sending things out. A lot of stuff going on, whether it's good or bad. You know, there's a lot going on in the NFL right now. So just keep updated on all of our pages. We'll keep, sending you guys that information. But yeah, as always, thank you guys for joining us for another episode. Twas a fun one for sure.
Yes. Good night. Goodbye.
Good night. We'll see you later.